Every weekend you were on call. You got up in the morning, you went to Circle K, you got your donuts and your Slurpee, and you got to Brook Street however you did. I would butt board my skateboard with my surfboard across my lap, straight down to the beach at 6 in the morning. There was a guy named Ron Lutz. He'd be down there from the city rec department. He'd have a piece of cardboard with a black, magic marker and say, "No contest." He would nail it to the telephone pole, you'd went home, come back the next day. If it didn't happen the next day, you came back the next weekend. Because we didn't have forecasting. So you just showed up every weekend until the contest ran.
The Brook Street has to run on a significant swell on a weekend. There's the big ledge at Brook Street. The wave kind of comes in like this big A-frame, hits the ledge, drops really scary. When you're a young kid and you don't have a lot of weight, it just seems like it's completely out of your league and foreign.
It was definitely like intimidating, especially like at a young age. The crowd, the locals, the wave is basically like the pipeline of our Laguna.
So we have a big, long waiting period that kind of starts in June and goes all the way to October.
People talking to each other, like, hey, is the Brook Street on today?
Dropping everything they're supposed to be doing that week. Oh my God, the Brook Street's happened. I got to get down there. And, they sign up and it's on. So there's a lot of things that have to come together for the event to happen. And when it happens, it's magic because these characters come out of the woodworks and it's special.
That was a cropper.
I would argue anyone that the Brook Street is the longest running contest still in existence.
Let's go surfing at Brook Street in Laguna Beach, California. Sometimes you catch waves when you're just trying to paddle out.
Surfers used to come down in their jalopies and drink jug wine and have campfires on the beach and girls and pass out in their cars and then surf. And the homeowners back in the day didn't like that too much, so they actually tried to get surfing banned in Laguna and tried to extend their property rights all the way out to the mean high tide line, meaning surfers couldn't go down on the beach. There's a guy named Hobie Alter, and his parents lived on the beach at Oak Street. And Hobie, who was building this new surf industry, went downtown and talked to Red Geyer, who is the recreation department supervisor, and said, "We want to paint surfers in a good, positive light. Let's come up with a surf contest."
We all thought he was nuts. We said, what do you want to have? If you have a contest, it's because you want to find out who's the best or who's going to win. Well, there was no question about who was the best. It was Hobie.
Not only is Hobie a good solo surfer, but a champion tandem surfer as well. He's won many surfing contests throughout the world.
I was sick. I was getting out of a sick bed, and I was actually running a temperature of about 103, so I should never have been there. But as they built it up, I figured, I've got to be there. I had no balance. My balance had gone. My body was going all over the place, and I was just this close to falling. And somehow, miraculously, I regained enough to stay on the board. And I think they gave me some points for that and thought I was doing some hot stuff. So that's my explanation on how I win, because I certainly was not the best surfer out there. And everybody knew it, but they didn't know the part about me being sick. It's been going for so long, it's become an institution.
By about 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10, the event finally starts getting up and running. But before then, it's a complete disaster.
There's no organization before the day of the event.
It's funny to watch. I get a kick out of it.
No one signed up. We have no heats until Saturday when the call's made.
People are stressing and asking a lot of questions.
We are literally building heats on the fly.
When's my heat? When do I surf? And
build a heat, get guys in the water, keep heats going. And I'm trying to surf in the contest, so I'm going in the water. For those first few hours, it's just total chaos. But we're just shooting from the hip, and it always seems to work.
People volunteer to judge, and anything goes, and your judges can be drunk up there announcing whatever. You see everything happening.
So it's pretty cool for the average spectator to come up, and it's like an amphitheater. You're elevated, you're looking down on it, you're really close to the action. If you're sitting there on the bleachers at Brooks, you can get wet just sitting there, and you get to see everything.
People can heckle or people can cheer you on. And
When you're doing it in front of your whole hometown, it adds a huge layer of pressure.
The first time I surfed in the Brick Street contest, I was 13 years old. Being out there in the heat and all that, like for the first time, was definitely a pretty crazy experience.
I just remember like getting ready to paddle out, like a massive second reef set came in, and I'm like looking at everyone like, are we seriously doing this? Like, we're going out, and then the horn went, so.
Let's hear it for the first final of the day.
even if you don't know anything about surfing, there'll be a lot of wipeouts and just good takeoffs and the whole vibe. Like, there's just something special about this community event and everybody rallying around it that you wanted to be a part of it.
It's a really cool thing for the local community, especially like where you're at in your surfing lifespan. When you get all your sort of surf tribal leaders together and, you're sharing stories from one generation down to the other generation, and it's important to us to share that with the younger kids that are growing up here, and that history, kind of being passed down through the stories on the days of the event.
Second place, Jens.
And no matter what's happening, if you lose, if you win, like, for the most part, everyone's having fun and they're like sharing rides.
Being out there in the heat, I definitely feel like the most at home.
I'd rather surf the Brook Street than surf a pro contest. I don't want to miss the Brook Street. It's that special. I guess I'll answer it this way. When I used to be away and I would come back to Laguna, so let's say I'd be traveling, and I remember like driving through the canyon and just coming down to Coast Highway through Broadway and like rolling the windows down and smelling the ocean. And like there's always a sensation like, okay, I'm home. I could smell the seaweed, I could smell the salt air. And there was like that kind of that gravity that you have towards the town of where you grew up at, sort of, and I guess just kind of how much you appreciated being home. Like,
Dante Madrigal. Go sleep to Brook Street. Go sleep to Brook Street.